Hello out there, folks. This is Mr. Pete, your YouTube shop teacher, or perhaps I should change my name to your lock-picking shop teacher, because what I'm going to talk about today is all of these lock-picking tools that I picked up or received with that huge mother load of tools that I got a few weeks ago. And I'll put the title to that on the screen here in case you haven't watched that, but I think about 40,000 people have watched it. It's two parts, so it was pretty well received, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about the lock-picking tools because there was just so much that day. So we'll go through this again. Some of this might be a repeat, but I am realizing now that there is a strong following for amateur lock-picking. I don't mean thieves or burglars or anything like that, but just people like to do it for a hobby. And there's a couple interesting YouTube creators that I like to watch. I've been watching them for a long time, really, and their names are Bosnia Bill and Lock-Picking Lawyer. So let's take a look at what is in here again, and you can leave comments if I misidentify something, because I'm far from being an expert on this. So go back and look at this video if you have not seen it. You might like it. Let me unload this blue tote now. The man that originally owned this stuff was not a locksmith, but he, I think, was just interested in locks and lock picking, but did not do it for a living whatsoever. So there's a bunch of boxes here. There are lock picks. There are a lot of locks, a lot of keys. So let's go through these boxes one at a time. Well, back when I was in my prime and teaching in the school shop, I had many padlocks and cabinets and so on, and I kept everything locked up, so I had a big wad of keys, as you can imagine. Although I had most of my locks like this, key-alike, so there were, probably 24 locks like that. But I very seldom forgot my keys when I left for school in the morning. But one time I did, so I told the kids, we're not going to work today because we can't get into anything. We'll have a lecture today. They really like that. And then tomorrow we'll work. Well, one kid came up during that lesson or after the lesson and said, Mr. Pete, I know how to pick locks. You want me to show you? And I said, well, yeah. So the next day he brought in a couple lock picks, and he learned this from his uncle. Now, this wasn't a bad kid. We're not talking about larceny or anything like that, but he showed me how to pick a lock, and then he gave me the lock picks. They were homemade from his uncle, and I think I still got them in the drawer here if I would dig hard enough. But now I got professional lock picks. I wasn't aware there were professional lock picks. Anyway, I learned very quickly how to pick a master padlock, but now I have found out that these are the easiest locks in the world to pick, so I had no skill at all. Alright, back to the business here. In the Ziploc bag we have quite a few lock picks or materials here that could be used to make lock picks. Now, these are professionally made or purchased lock picks, but let's look at this real quickly, close up. Well, this is the first time that I've looked at these items that are in the baggie. I don't know what all of these pieces of wire or rod are. Possibly he was going to make lock picks. This is spring steel, which is really a good source of material for that, because it is hardened and it's tempered and it's tough and it's thin and it's cheap. These appear to be pieces out of old springs more than likely, so there's quite a bit of that. This appears to be one of those tools like you make adjustments on old televisions or soldering or something. I'm really not sure what that is or why it's in there. Here's a homemade lock pick with a big handle on it. And another one. I'm not sure if some of these are homemade or professionally made. That's the one they call a wrench, I think. Whoop. All kinds of different shapes. Some are damaged. This looks to be like a little wrench that came with a lock set, I think, that you put in a door. And there's an interesting one, not sure just what it's for. So that's what was in the baggie, and a few things here like these screws I gotta throw out. Okay, let's see what we've got here. There's a nice little pouch with, and that's the brand name, and since this is genuine leather, just like the dashboard, perhaps this is an expensive set and an older set if it's leather instead of vinyl. And in this kit there's some nice tools there, some nice picks, all different kinds of shapes and styles. Possibly not all of these came with this kit. They might have been put in here as a group. I do not know at all. Let me lay these out and I'll show you what the tips look like. And there are names for these. And I forgot what they are. You can put it in the comments because we probably got some people watching now that either are lock pickers or are highly interested in it. Well, there's a nice group of picks. A few of these are double-ended, but mostly are single-ended. Okay, here's an interesting little kit with a zipper on it with a lot of picks in there. I almost threw it away in that other video thinking that it was just another cheap tool or mustache trimmer or something of that nature. But boy, this thing is well equipped. First of all, here is the name, HPC USA. That in itself is unusual. And these little things flip open. You could carry this in your vest pocket, or a locksmith, or a burglar. Wouldn't be a burglar, would it? It would be a lockpicker. It was a criminal. I think I'll pull these all out so that you can get a look at them, but I think this is really neat. What this little saw is for, I do not know. It's a little bit corroded, or maybe it's homemade and doesn't belong in there. You never know with this older stuff. And there are some more. And that looks like it could be a little set of directions or something in there. So let me lay these out. I'm going to try to keep them in this order when I lay them on the bench. Anybody watching this? Okay, I've emptied the pouch, as you can see. I'll lay that off to the side. But that little piece of paper in there was kind of a little table of contents of what is in the pouch. The numbers, I suppose, if you need to order replacements, and this is the suggested arrangement for picks in the carrying case. Kind of neat. And then zooming in from left to right here, take a look at the ends. You can see that some are discolored a little bit, so obviously they have been used. And this is the first time that I have looked at these as well, so it's pretty interesting. Alright, I'm going to attempt to put them back in that little case about the way I found them. I just now noticed that in this little zippered pouch there's a name here, and it says Royal Dutch something. Not sure I can read it, but I don't care. I'll just open this up and dump it out. Quite a few in there. Well, that was a little bit of a disappointment. There's not much in there. In this little zippered pouch, Royal Dutch. Some of these look to be bent, don't they? Well, that's it on the regular picks here in the little pouches. Now let's move on to a few other things. I'm not done. Wait, there's more. Well, this little box doesn't look too promising. There is a quick set lock to practice on. And this is one of those, I mean, it is a lock pick. What does it say there? Majestic Lock Aid, Hesse, Majestic, and a patent number. Some kind of adjustment there. I've really never seen one of those. It looks like possible directions for it, I don't know. Or a packing list. How to use the lock aid tool. I don't see any extra picks for this. But alright, let's look in this baggie. I think I'll cut the top off because it appears to be sealed. Alright, there's locks in there and a little cylinder, I guess. Oh, that wasn't worth the time. There's two of those. Those look like the kind of lock that goes on a drawer or a showcase or something like that. Well, that box was a pouting disappointment. Let's move on to another one here. And in this one, I did show this before. And I have to laugh when I looked at my own video because I said, that's another one of those Black & Decker electric screwdrivers, which I didn't have much faith in. But here is an electric lock pick. Of course, the batteries are dead. I did try it, but this is rechargeable. So whether or not that can be adapted or are the batteries spoiled, because this has been put away for 15 years or so. But there are directions in here, and another set of directions here, which I'm not going to get out. But what else do we have in the box, if anything? A plastic lock. Look at that. Talk about junk. New products from Electropick. Alright, maybe this is the mother load. Oh, it is. This is the mother load of picks that go in the Electropick. Okay. Is this cheating for a locksmith to use one of these? Okay, a bunch of keys. And some of these are key blanks. There's masters. Those are blanks. But most of these, it looks like, are just regular keys. Probably useless. And then in this one also a selection of blanks as well as cut keys. Possibly not worth showing anyone, but let's dump them out anyway. Bicycle locks and combination locks. These look like they're from a school, and some of them have the combination on the bottom. And that's some kind of electrical lock, I believe. Certainly nothing there of value. This locksmith must have liked to practice, because here's a whole box, quite heavy, and I suppose it's scrap, but all kinds of cylinders, different brands. There's a Corbin and all the usual suspects. Sargent. Probably only good for the value of the brass in there, I would guess. And we got another one here. Now these are all keys. A lot of blanks here that are uncut. That's kind of like what my keys looked like when I went when I was teaching, it was a big wad. I very seldom forgot them, and I never lost them in 35 years. And there were other teachers that were just they would leave their keys lay around, and then they would get stolen and be found out in the snow. I have a lot of stories about that, but I'm not telling tales out of school. No pun intended. Okay, and these little packs, and I'm not going to show you the name and address and phone number and everything, although I think it's way out of date on a lock service. So these came from a locksmith, evidently. Not necessarily the one where I acquired this, but in here are the pins, and it tells on some of these, I'm not going to show you that, but the customer's name and whose locks these were. He must have changed tumblers. One more thing and I'm done. This was in a baggie. You might have seen it in another video, and I didn't take it out, but somebody said that's a Geiger counter, and other people said no, that's to be used by a locksmith to find the combination, or to open a combination lock like on a safe, because you could hear it. Now this thing is a total disaster. The earphones are falling apart, and I opened this ahead of time because the corrosion is so bad, and I'm sure these batteries have been in there 20 years, who knows. And then I realized after taking the cover off that the batteries could be removed from the end. So, this is a lesson for all of us, that we need to take batteries out of meters and other devices if we don't use them on a daily basis, because this isn't repairable, and it's old enough to where there's a vacuum tube in here, and evidently the user carried this on his belt, which is quite heavy. It would pull your pants down. You'd have to have suspenders also if you were to have this 5-pound thing hanging on your hip and listening to whatever it is you do with this thing. Because there had to have been a microphone. This must be the jack, or not for the microphone rather, something to pick up the sound. Well, I guess I do mean a microphone. These are the earphones. We needed a microphone, I suppose, up against the safe or the lock. I really don't know. Put it in the comments if you got any ideas as to what the Ray lock has. Well, they got the word lock on here, so that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? But somebody saw this atomic energy thing and said it was a Geiger counter. And I can see that it was not. Although, I don't know. You tell me. Well, I hope you found this just mildly interesting. It's just kind of an inventory of these. I do intend to play around with these when I'm watching YouTube videos on my smart TV. I like to have something in my hands to play around with. So that concludes this video. If you've never watched my channel before, I have 13 other shop videos. This is Mr. Pete, your YouTube shop teacher, saying so long for now, or actually I should say, this is Mr. Pete, your lock-picking shop teacher. See you next time.